Nantes Cathedral, or the Cathedral of Saint Peter and Saint Paul of Nantes, is a Roman Catholic Gothic cathedral located in Nantes, Pays de la Loire, France. Construction began in 1434, on the site of a Romanesque cathedral, and took 457 years to finish in 1891. It has been listed since 1862 as a monument historique by the French Ministry of Culture. The reconstruction of the cathedral commenced during the early to mid-15th century during a time when Nantes and Brittany were commercially prosperous, initiating such large-scale architectural projects on a wide scale, partly owing to the opportunist and skillful diplomatic policy of John V, Duke of Brittany in a period of political turmoil and conflict with England. The cathedral's foundation stone was laid on the 14th of April 1434. By John V, Duke of Brittany and Jean the Malestroit, Bishop of Nantes. The first architect in charge was Guillaume de Damartin, who was later replaced by Mathurin Rodi. The construction began with the west facade, the aisles of the nave and its lateral chapels. Lenier et al. Divide the building process in 5 phases. The first phase took place between c. 1434 and c. 1470. In this period the west facade and the tower bay were built, as were the south aisle of the nave with its chapels, and the south arcade pillars. The bases of those pillars resemble the ones of the choir of Mont Saint-Michel, which was begun after 1444. The arms of Duke John, who died in 1442, were placed in the staircase to the balcony, above the ducal portal, on the south side of the southern tower bay. The vaults in the belfry of that tower were decorated with the arms of Bishop Guillaume the Malestroit. The triforium of the tower bay was constructed in an earlier and different style than the one of the nave proper. Bronze decoration of the central portal's doors was undertaken in 1482. The second phase took place from c. 1470 to c. 1490. During this time the nave, the north aisle and its chapels were built. They were completed by 1485, a slightly later. The west wall of the north transept and the northwest crossing pier, perhaps up to capital height, were also constructed in this period. In the third phase, c. 1500 to 1516, the glass in the great west window was installed, as a gift from Queen Anne. In 1500 took place the vaulting of the first bay of the nave. From 1508 to 1516 the eastern bay of the south aisle of the nave and its chapel was completed and vaulted. The south transept was begun, finishing most of the upper parts of its western wall by 1519 to 1520. The financial support came from Bishop Guillaume Guégan and the architect was Jacques Drouet. The last phase is the post-medieval one. It spanned from c. 1626 to 1630 and led to the completion of the nave high vaulting and the construction of the nave flyers. The south transept was completed sometime between 1631 and 1637 or perhaps later, in a sympathetic Gothic style. Louis Lervaux recommended to the chapter at Nantes, in about 1650, to build the choir in a Gothic style. The rest of the north transept and the choir, under the direction of Saint Félix Séhiot, were finished between 1840 and 1891, at a time of keen revival of the Catholic faith. The long wait was also due to the fact that the former Romanesque church was standing right next to the city's protective walls, which had to be taken down before completing the choir, while destroying the remains of the previous cathedral as it was covered by the larger new one. The edifice was damaged by Allied bombing during World War II. On the 15th of June 1944, on the 28th of January 1972, a gigantic fire started on the roof, believed to have been caused by a workman's blowtorch. Firemen managed to bring it under control, but the timber frame was severely damaged and many other damages were inflicted. This event led to a complete interior restoration of a cathedral. The elevation and the regularity of the plan of the cathedral are French. Still the majority of the details are late Gothic, e.g., the absence of capitals, the plinths with concave sides and separated bases for the shafts, the flamboyant tracery, and the masking of the piers by shafts. In the early hours of the 18th of July 2020, A fire broke out in 3 parts of the cathedral. One concentrated on the main organ at the west end, originally built by Jacques Girardet in 1621, which was destroyed, a second near a smaller organ to the left of the altar, and the third to the right of the altar. Around 100 firefighters tackled the blaze. Police investigated the incident as a possible act of arson. Fire Chief Laurent Fairley reported that the cathedral sustained less damage than Notre Dame de Paris did in its 2019 fire. After the fire, a 39-year-old church volunteer, Emmanuel Abezinga, a Rwandan refugee who had lived in France since 2012, was detained for questioning but released without charge. However, he was later rearrested and confessed to setting the fire. He was charged with arson. His lawyer told a newspaper that his client, B.